So the program is called Snappy Sounds. I don't know if you knew that, but it's a program published by MacMillan Education. I don't work for MacMillan, I'm a freelancer, so I can be completely honest about the program. I know lots of programs that are available. This one was developed in Australia and has won the UK Department for Education accreditation. There was a big formal process in the UK where any program published had to meet a set of criteria to be considered an accredited program, and this had that award. So you can relax that if this is a serious program that features all the different things that your child will need. Okay? So it's a systematic synthetic phonics, it's quite hard to say, systematic synthetic phonic program, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit tonight about how that might be slightly different from maybe your own experiences at school. I don't know. Perhaps it is. So I'm going to ask these questions. If these kind of questions aren't the questions that you're hoping to have answers to, then we can talk about that. But I thought we'd ask, why phonics? Why are we doing it? What do I need to know as a parent? What can I do to help my child? I guess that's why you're here. And will my child still have fun? Because they're little, aren't they? And we want to know that even though we're doing something that seems heavy and serious, it's not. It's still that they're young children, they have a whole range of needs, but learning to read, we fundamentally believe, I know in my heart, is the most important thing, because it opens the doors to so much else in school. So that's why it's such an important thing to do. So those are my questions. If you'll permit me, we'll work through them. Now I've got two serious slides to start with, just to explain why phonics, what is phonics. It's a serious chart, but basically, if we think we want children to understand what they read, as well as to be able to decode, unravel the words, the letters in the words, to read and so we've got understanding and actually reading. And where we want our children to be is up here. We want them to both look at a word, know how to read it, and to understand it. That's the ideal position. And obviously we don't want them down here where they can neither read a word nor understand what they're reading. And we have nuances at the top left and there, but basically that's what we want our children to be able to do. Know how to read and understand. And that's our mission. And that's where phonics sits in, because phonics sits on this axis of the graph. Okay? It's not that we're not concerned with meaning, we are, but we're more concerned with the word recognition. And that's really what phonics helps us to do. In terms of the world, there is no perfect way to teach children to read. I mean, we don't know how we learn to read. It's what we spend our whole lives trying to work out. But globally, this is the strongest available evidence that this phonics instruction is the most effective way. So, than any other alternative. So any perhaps alternatives that you may have dealt with at school, like look and say, or where you look at a picture and then you look at the word and you try and just remember it, for example. That's a different way of learning to read. And this way seems to be globally agreed upon that it is the most effective. So there's a strong bank of evidence, not just what MacMillan is saying. So what do you need to know as parents? Well, the programme is really for 4 to 7 year olds. So we're really looking at infants A, B and class 1. So it's quite a short introduction, and once you've done that, you can move on, because once you've learnt to recognise the words through the letters and the sounds that they represent, you can start to use that. And when you can use it, then the world is your oyster. You can move on and read all sorts of lovely books. So that's the thinking behind it. So you can see that this is the training we're doing is with these teachers for levels 1 to 4 in snappy sounds, levels 5 to 8, and then there's a kind of catch-up program that's accessible as well if you've got a child going into perhaps class 1, or if you move to a new area and they've missed out the beginning, then they can pick up on that program. And this is the other thing you need to know, because I think this might be quite different perhaps from even what you've experienced so far, that little and often for phonics is much better than 2 40-minute sessions a week. So what we're training our teachers to do is to adapt the way that they're teaching reading. So a little session every day, ideally followed up by your help at home, is absolutely perfect. We say to the teachers 15 to 30 minutes. You could be doing 5 or 10 minutes. You're probably reading a bedtime story when children go to bed, that kind of thing. And anything like that, we'll come to that later, the sort of things you can do, is hugely beneficial. Even you just being here is hugely beneficial. Because it's a systematic synthetic phonic program, it means there's a really strict sequence that we teach the letters in. So I'm going to show you what that is. We don't teach in alphabetical order, okay? So there's a really clear scope and sequence, and it might be that you would like to have a look at that. I'm sure once you go into school, the teachers would be happy to share that with you so that you can see which letters your children will be learning in that week so that you can support that at home. And it's fast, so we don't take, a long time ago we would take a letter a week, and everything around that letter would happen in that whole week, and it would take the whole week to go through, then we start the next week with a new letter. This is much faster, so this is another thing our teachers are having to get to grips with, and it does take some practice. So initially there's around 3 letters a week, okay? So it's quite pacey, and that's quite challenging on both the teacher and the children, but I'll tell you why that's important in a moment. And then the other thing is that because it's pacey and because it's happening every day, that means that every day you need to be reviewing what you did the day before and the day before that. So it's cyclical. So you're literally introducing new and pulling through the past learning to the next day. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Any questions so far? No. Okay. Thank you. So it is about the letters, but it's not about the alphabet. Okay? So let me see what I've got on my next slide. So it is about teaching our children the letters, as I said, not in alphabetical order, even though these are. It's helping them to recognise the shape of the letter, which we call the grapheme. We don't have to call it that, and the letter sound. So it's looking at an M, a letter M for mum, and it's knowing that that represents the sound okay? And once we can teach children to instantly recognise the relationship between the letter shape and the letter sound, bingo, we're starting to get them to recognise the letters, and then we can start to think about putting them together in words. That's the kind of basic thinking. So understanding, if I say to you in English there are about 44 sounds, that's why we don't just do the alphabet. There are about 44 sounds that we need to teach the children, and then sometimes we find them in all different kind of combinations. So things like saying the sounds really clearly is definitely something you can help with. So in old style phonics, we might have said things like M for mum, D for dad, B for bat. And you can hear that what I'm doing is I'm putting an on the end of each letter. I'm saying M, I'm not saying m. So there are some differences there in the pronunciation. We can help you with that. In fact, you can Google that online, and there are lots of online sites where you could listen if you weren't sure about the pronunciation. There's things like, we used to say f, okay? So it's actually slightly retraining the children to know how to make the sounds. And that's a very important part of the phonics, because when we're putting the letters together in a word, I'm going to show you this in a moment, if you say but-atter, it doesn't sound like bat. It sounds like but-atter, right? But if you say but-at, you're practically giving the children the word, and they see how the letters blend together. So that's one of the major differences in the approach that we're taking now. So it is about the letters and sounds, but it's about more than the letters and sounds. This is the order. I'm not going to give you the whole order of the whole program, but this will be accessible to you from your class teacher if that's what you'd like. You'll know week by week what the letters are, but rather than start with A, B, C, D, if we started with A, B, C, D, it's really hard to make any words, if you think about it. A, B, C, D, can I make any words from that? You know, it's as, it's quite tricky. But if we start with something like these letters, we can make lots of words. You may even be able to make some words. So you could make at, you can make an, you can make it, you can make sit, you can make sap. So these few letters open up the world of reading. And that's why we do this kind of sequence, and it's why we go fast. Remember I said we actually do kind of 3, 4 is the first lesson, and then we go to generally 3 per week. Because we can't guarantee that children will remember them all, because we're going fast, but they're more likely to remember them if we do them and then use them in context. So if we're teaching those letters and then we're showing them that we can make all these words and we can read these words, they're more likely to remember, and it gathers momentum. So the more you know, the more you realise that's the code of reading. So that's why we do that kind of... Did you have a question? No, okay. That's why we do a different... was that the same with you at school? Did you learn ABC or do you not remember?
I don't remember.
No, no. Yeah, okay. This is what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's...
G for...
Goat?
Goat.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I had imagined that would be your experience. So it was definitely more alphabet. And of course, I'm not saying the alphabet's not important. It's really important for other areas of English language development and creative fun. So it's not that your child won't know the alphabet. They'll still be singing alphabet songs and doing those things. That's important. But in phonics, it's not so important because we want to focus on the letter sound, the shape and the sound. So this is quite an interesting one as well, because all the letters I've shared with you at the moment have been one letter representing one sound. So an M represents the sound for and a B is B for bat, and so on. But of course what we know is that in the English language, sometimes we get 2 letters, like CH or SH or TH. And so these represent 2 letters that make one sound. So the sound, if you think about it, you know this anyway, it's ch, and it's sh, and it's th, or v, because remember we have a th and a v. Yeah, the children find it quite funny when we're making these sounds, because they actually have to make some quite, you know, if you think about, I don't know, there's some that you make, you know, in the back of your throat. And we teach the children that as well. Think about putting your lips together to say, is in the back of your throat. P is a really soft sound, but if we use our voice, it becomes b. You know, it's, so children can understand these concepts. And you can play these games, and when you're singing songs at home with them or something, it might well be that you're helping to tune them in to being able to understand and hear and appreciate those sounds and make them. So the better your modelling can be, the better they will learn how to say those sounds. You can see on the right-hand side, sometimes if you think about something like the word night or fright, well, we'll stick with night, it's got IGH in it. So we teach the children N, I, T, 3 sounds, even though there are 5 letters. So it's learning which clusters of letters make which sounds, okay? And there are many, but anytime anything comes home from school, it would be really clear to you, as I'll show you, what the letter is, what the clusters are. It's not that you have to go away and learn all the clusters. So that's a really important part of systematic synthetic phonics as well. So this is the word I chose, night, although I've already done it with you. And we call this blending to read. So when the children have enough enough letters that they've learnt, they learn to put them together, as I first did with bat. And if there's a word like this, and I've said here, notice no pictures, we teach them how to read this, not by looking at a picture and relying on the picture, because that's kind of guessing, and we try not to encourage them to guess. Again, in other reading, bedtime story reading, picture book reading, that's great. We want to talk about the picture and how that works with the text. But when we're trying to encourage them to read for themselves independently, then we don't want them guessing. We want them looking at those letters and telling us N, I, T, night.
So my son does that. When we read bedtime stories at night, he would pretty much guess what the word is based on the picture.
Yes, yes, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's engaging with the text, engaging with the picture, developing a love of story. That's all fantastic. But if it's a book that you know he has the ability to read to you.
Yeah, because he does all the reading. I don't read.
Oh, even then. Oh, fabulous. Yeah. Okay, well, he sounds like he's halfway there and back again, which is great. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to discourage that at all. That's really important. But you can really help him focus in on perhaps saying some of these sounds. And steering him in this direction, rather than maybe looking at the word and knowing the word instantly because he's remembered it, because there's a capacity in here to the number of words we can remember, whereas this helps you to work out more difficult words further along the line. When you see a word like, I don't know, even fright, then you'd be able to say, oh, it's fright. So it might give him the confidence to try words that otherwise he might not have done because they're outside of his memory, if that makes sense. So no picture. There are pictures in our books. It's not that we're not using pictures, but we don't want children relying on the pictures. And this just is an example of how we break down those letters into the sounds. So this is the N, I, T. And again, if I just say N, I, T, not T, T, it doesn't sound like the word. It's only when you start squashing them together that it begins to sound like the word. Night is the blending. So also related to the reading, so we've done the individual letter sounds, we've started putting them together to read words, and in this program there are 8 levels, and these are the colour coding of the levels. So your teachers will be teaching the children level by level, and a level, each level has 10 books. And each book reinforces those letters and the letter sounds that the teacher has taught that week. So by the time you have access to the book, which I'll come on to in a moment, or you have access to an activity, a worksheet or something, the children will have had the week of the teaching before. So that's really important, that they are never being given a book that they cannot, in theory, read. They may stumble because they're learning and they're little, but they're teaching. So they're really well prepared, and the book comes at the end. Whereas again, I think maybe in former teaching, we would start with the book and we'd work through it. No, now we're teaching them with the letters, with the sounds, with simple words, and then we're saying, now it's your turn. Here's a book. And they love it, that even from the very beginning. And it's difficult at the very beginning because honestly, you've only got SATM, in the very first book. So it really is quite difficult to get much beyond Sam. And, you know, and he's sort of, I am Sam, and he's sitting on a mat. You know, there's really not much we can do, but they're still lovely books and good illustrations, quite sweet. And very soon, as you'll see, we get up to things like this, which is level 5, where the spooky, sporty party, you know, becomes a much more engaging. So these aren't boring cats on mats. I mean, that is a rabbit on a mat, but, you know, we can very quickly get away from that to a really good story. So you'll see the progression is quite fast, and it's quite exciting. So at some point you will probably see these books coming home, or probably not the physical book, because there's a limit to how many we can send home, obviously. But teachers have access to all the materials online. So if this is something that is appealing to you and you have access, then you will be able to access the levels, the books by level, so that you can stay in track with what's happening in school.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you purchase these books otherwise?
Not at the moment, no, not at the moment. Because part of the, it's really tricky because I know where the question is coming from, you know, enthusiasm and wanting to support your child, but it's really important that you stay in sync with what's happening in class, not racing ahead. It's really important. So if your child is very able and is reading really competently, we can help you to know what to do to do more at that level rather than go on to the next level too soon, if that makes sense. You can broaden, and it's much more effective to do that, more practice at that level to consolidate what they're learning than it is to go ahead too quickly, because we're already going fast, already going quite fast. And we don't want to race through it and then get to the end and think, no, they've not got it. So that's a really important question. Does that make sense as well? Yeah. Okay, but it's nice that they're online, and that means you can practice and you can have it read to you. So it can also provide a model for reading for the child, if that's helpful as well. I wanted to show you some of the higher level books. I have got a few that I've brought with me here, but quite quickly you can see the books go not only from illustrated books like this, but to photographic books as well. I mean, this is even level 1, so they're really nicely mixed between stories and fact and fiction from the beginning. And this one is Sue's Shoot. This is at kind of level possibly 6, I think, so it's towards the end of the programme, but just to give you a flavour for that. And this is higher up again. There's even non-fiction books that give instructions about how to make things. So by this level, you hardly notice that it's phonics because they've gone so quickly. They quickly become engaging, fun books to read, which again is very different from the books of the past that were really dry and boring. I mean, these are proper books that children actually love to read. So we hope you agree. Mainly your teacher will be working with the children in groups when she's using the books. The main teaching will more likely be whole class, and then towards the end of the week when the teaching is done, they'll be using the reading books. That's the kind of plan that we're outlining. Miss Edwards, do you want to say anything at that point before I move on to writing? Do you want to say anything about reading. It would be lovely to have your, would you like to come out?
Reading, just thinking.
Yeah. Anything you can add to that experience of the reading process?
Sure.
Yes. Yes.
Creating the dish, the beverage, and the food, that was all part of the SNAP, your program.
Yes.
Okay, that's what he did today. With the beverage, he had to take it to school and prepare. That's part of your practicing them, training of.
Oh no, I think that was a coincidence.
Yeah, because today the world food is.
Yeah.
And so I think they had to bring a dish.
Oh no, that won't.
It is classing to.
Ah.
Because what we usually structure what it was supposed to do.
The one before?
Oh, was maybe candle?
Yeah, they were supposed to
We
do.
actually had
So-
one of this
so they had some of that similar to that.
Ah, okay.
And then
where he is saying his name and
oh, he's embarrassed now. That's brilliant, that's so good.
with the picture.
Nice.
He had to make the picture and
Oh, wow.
That's fantastic, well done.
go today to the class and take his and
Okay. And that,
Oh, nice.
oh, well how funny that I chose that one of all the 80 books in the program and I chose, it was meant to be chosen. Well done you, well done. Oh, thank you. Oh, fantastic.
Oh, that's lovely.
Really lovely, yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
Was it fun? Was it fun?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, good.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yes, please. So I would have done this program with my students, and one thing I can say, they loved books. The excitement was there, the interest was there. Even the ones that were not as strong as, they were still excited. And that made the time engaging and very, for me, satisfying. Jill mentioned we work in small groups. Why do we do that? We can do the holistic teaching, but then you want an opportunity to listen to the kids read. So when I did my small groups, I would lean in and I would listen to them read. You know, sometimes in a big group, we can hide and we can children get very creative, right? Especially when they're having challenges. So it gave me the teacher the opportunity to listen in and hear exactly what mistakes were being made. So I would take my what we call anecdotal notes, little notes, you know, just thinking and listening and hearing and making my notes and so forth. And then I was able to curtail lessons going forward. So I used it as a way to inform me, the teacher, of where the child was at. Because as I said, in a big group they can hide. So it gave me an opportunity to really listen in and give that more individualized attention to the children. And that's what we need. All right? So I did more of what we call a rotation of my groups. So there wasn't like chaos in the classroom. I had centers set up, and the kids, we call it routines. So the kids knew that one would come to me first, and then they had a choice of either doing a phonics activity. It could be reinforcing the high frequency words, what we call sight words they would have learned for the week. They got to interact with them, get all tactile. We did have puppets in the classroom. They would pop and spell words, got them engaged so that they knew what they were doing while I worked with my small group. And then I ring my bell, ding, 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 and rotate, and to come to teacher next, and they know. So within the classroom, there's structure, there's organization, as we're encouraging our teachers to do, have structure and organization, so that you get a chance to meet with the children in a small group setting and get that individualized attention. That's okay?
Thank you, perfect, yes, yeah, excellent, thank you. I'll call on you again in a moment. Oh, yes, sorry, I thought I was moving on to writing, but just to say, even if you access the books online, right at the front of the book, you're not left on your own. At the front of the book, there are notes for before, during, and after reading. And before you start the story, here is the page that tells you exactly what the phonic focus of the book is. It's also on the back. Oh, actually, I've chosen a bad one because this is a review one. Yeah. That's a shame. In fact, I didn't bring another one. Well, we'll go for this as level 5. It's a bit higher, but the same principle that you get the notes, and you will always on the back. Oh, this is a focus as well. Anyway, that's just bad luck. But you'll always get guidance here as to, and you can point, or you can say, to your child, can you point to yeah? Or can you point to the word these? We'll go back to the earlier one because I think that's more relevant for your children, isn't it? The level, yeah, it's gone too high. So this is better. You know, can you point to the letter that has the sound and then they can point, or they can point and test you. They can say, oh, well, does this one say or d? That kind of thing. So use this page if you get access to the books, and do that to prepare for reading the story. Notice that these, Miss Edwards mentioned these high-frequency tricky words. Phonics doesn't work so well for these words. These are kind of words that phonics lets us down, really. We can't, you know, if we know that, they're just difficult, aren't they? If you know that O says O sometimes, then N-O, no, you can work it out. But there will always be these words that are a bit tricky, and you have to try and use the phonics, and if it doesn't work, give a little wiggle and see if you can get them a little bit nearer. You'll need to help them a little bit with those words. They need to know them because they're the most common words, but they're just hard. And then at the back, you always get some comprehension questions, because remember what I was saying was, even though they're phonic books, they do have meaning, they are stories. So even if you are not confident with the phonics, and I'm sure you will be, you can always just do the book and then talk to the child about the story, and even that is hugely helpful, hugely helpful. So every book has that same format. So there's an example of how you can practice, and there's the comprehension questions. It's very formulaic because it's structured and synthetic. So once you're into it, you'll become really familiar, as the children will in school. Back to the letters and sounds. So remember I said it is about the letters and sounds, but it's about so much more. It's also about how we form the letters. So the fact that the child sees the letter, says the letter sound, we also need to teach the children how to form the letter correctly. So, you know, we need to practice, and I've given you this in alphabetical order because they have to learn all the letters of the alphabet. The phonics helps them to know what combinations they put together, but they still need to know how to write them. So it might well be that I can let you have copies of this if that's helpful, but you need, if you're writing at home with them or supporting them to write a letter to grandma or whatever, you can be practicing these letters. Practice them in the palm of your hand. Practice them on your back. Can you feel what letter I'm writing on your back? Write them in the sand on the beach. You know, these kind of things. But try and be consistent about the way you're writing the letters, because we all, I think, get lazy as adults and start doing things in a different way.
And not from the bottom, please? Not
from the bottom, no. These sheets, they have the green arrow to indicate where to start. So we go round, up and down for the A. The K, for example, you would come down and then you go in and out. So these are the ways your children will be learning to write in class, and if you can do the same, lowercase rather than capital lowercase is preferred. That's really helpful. Pardon? Oh, okay. And then the way that we use the letters and sounds to learn to write is like this. Your child sees the picture of a hen and says, I want to write the word hen, mummy. And so you can help them by saying, oh, let's say the word hen. Okay? And then you can say, oh, what's the first sound in that word? And hopefully they'll say, I thought you were going to say it. And so then you can say, what letter do I need to write that represents the word, that the letter sound? Oh, it's this letter. So we write H. And you do it with E. What's the second sound you can hear? What's the third sound you can hear? H, E, N. Until they write the 3 letters. You'll need to help them. They're learning. But then when you've written the word, you can say, did we write hen or did we write duck or chicken? So then you have to look at the word and blend it to read. You have to read it to check what you've written. So then it's hen. Oh yeah, we wrote hen. Fantastic. So that's the kind of process of reading and writing that fit together.
And it does not become automatic, ladies.
It does not.
Edward, can I say something?
Please do.
It's not automatic.
Come up again, please.
People think that because you can decode a word, you can pull it down by sounds, that to write it is automatically isn't. So you see spelling words come home. I remember one year I had it as A, and the kids were like, House, House, Treee, tree, and I'm like, whoa! I put the word on the board.
No idea.
Had no idea what it was. I was like, what? I said, Lord, what's this? I said, what's this? I said, spell tree, Tree. What's that on the board?
Yeah.
They couldn't tell you. They learned the word by what it sounded like.
And the letter name,
And the name.
not
But
the sound.
there was no connection.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? I know that y'all have sometimes lots of words are sent home. Oh my. But be mindful when we're going through our spelling words that you associate what it looks like with what it sounds like, and get them also to write it.
Yeah.
3 things to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Perfect.
That's a little encouragement.
Yeah.
Teaching that this week.
Pardon me, sorry, ma'am? Say it again,
The
please.
class that he's in.
Yes, please, ma'am.
They were doing the same thing you just speak of.
Okay.
Recognizing the words.
Yeah.
Being able to write it.
How
He
to
said,
write
no.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
And say it. And say it.
They were trying to make it more fun as well with the same way you suggested, like shake it back with the words in.
Yes. Yeah.
They've already started that at school as well.
Sounds great.
That is what they're trying to get us to do. I told them just showing them the paper
Yeah.
to make it fun.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it's got to be fun, right?
Because with the class, with the words are given to the very poor, so they get a second chance. So this
Okay.
the same thing that you mentioned with the,
Yeah.
fun but well learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gets a little easier too when we don't try to memorize the word. There's so much that your brain can hold at one point. Being able to break it down phonetically using our phonics is when we teach you the sounds. So when you hear, you can write and you can link what it sounds like to what it looks like. All right? Yes, please, sir.
And that's what it was training. I'm not fun. I'm poor at reading. But I'm very hard to read. I'm great at
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trained up from small.
Okay.
Okay.
Probably because of the forceful training through youth. It will make me not fun.
A fun,
To read. If I have to read, I will read.
You'll read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't have a love for it.
I don't have a-
No.
No, but from being here,
Yes, please.
I felt like a child. I thought it was like love for what she was.
That's great.
Oh.
Awesome,
I
awesome.
wanted to be up on phonics.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's favorite teacher.
The 3 days I learned to learn, regardless of often you have to learn
Yeah.
by sight,
Yeah.
by hearing, by actually doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those 3 are the 3 fundamentals.
Absolutely.
There's a link,
Yeah.
there's a link, there's a link.
Yeah.
They do so much in one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There'll be the person just reading, there'll be a person just listening.
You're so right. Yeah. Yeah.
Holistic. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good stuff.
No, it's reading and writing, 2 sides of the same coin,
Yes.
is what I say.
Yes.
Yeah. Hundreds of years ago, of course, it was all about writing. Children used to sit and scribe. That was too much one way. But they're so interlinked. So thank you. That's lovely. Look, I'm going to push on. This is just to reassure you that there's a clear sequence that your teachers will be sharing with your children. And again, what we've just been saying, It's the say it, the hear it, the write it, the read it, the spell it. They're all there for every letter. So it's always integrated. It's really exciting. Okay, this is the bit for you. What can I do to help with my child? And I feel now like you already know, so I can tell from your questions, you're probably doing these things. So we've already mentioned this. Go online if you're not sure and listen to those pronunciations of letter sounds. Many of the sites you'll come across actually have the mouth to show you, what we were talking about, the way the lips and the mouth move to make the sound, and not putting the on the end.
It reminds me of, even though you said she's so small, Miss Rachel, because she does a lot of formations with her mouth to get, I guess, babies to say the words.
Yes, yeah. It's really, really important. It's such a good start. And singing rhymes and songs will definitely help with that. Blowing bubbles is a really good way to help with that as well. And it's fun. This is one of my favorite that I keep showing. You need to get little fingers ready for writing. So your little 2-year-olds will need to start doing some finger exercises. Not exercises, but like finger rhymes and so on that we sing with young children. And you see this is like a DIY plastic glove. Garage sometimes. I don't know if you do here. We get them at the garage where you're putting petrol in your car, and to stop your hands getting smelly from the... So you can just get some little things, and you can push those little pom-poms up into the fingers, and that movement is really, that pincer movement, like a little crab, is really good for children. So there's lots and lots of finger activities that you can do to prepare them, so that when they pick up the pencil, they can begin to make a bigger movement into a finer movement. It's really important. So anything like that is going to be very valuable, even when they're holding a pencil. Oh, I mentioned the bubbles already, getting their mouths ready for saying those sounds. Songs and rhymes matter too. So they won't be phonically decodable, but often songs and rhymes have rhyming words, so children can hear the patterns, and we do want them to be doing that as well. And so saying those sounds, hearing that rhythm, getting their mouths around hickory, dickory, dock, or whatever, actually is hugely important. Knowing that correct letter formation, making sure that if you are helping them with writing at home, that you're really careful about, we call it in the classroom, modelling. So we can call it that at home too. They're looking, in fact, I've got a slide in a moment, it says that children do what we do, not what we say. And so it's up to us to show them, and then they can copy. So here it is, in fact. This is a really nice, I don't know if I've cut it off actually. Oh yes, it's called Toddlers Can Read, and it's on Instagram. And it's an American guy who is focused on supporting young children to read, and he has some very nice ideas, and it is synthetic phonics, so it would sit very nicely. It's always geared towards parents, so it would sit very nicely, and he's got lots of modelling, and here he was making this point, our kids understand. This video showed this mum telling the child what to do, and he just sat back in his chair like, I'm not doing that. And then when he got the chap came in and modelled what to do, and he said, now you do it, and then you get your child to do it, and the child was confident because you're modelling it for them to copy. So it's really powerful, and we use that in the classroom too. Keep it active. This is back to the point about it's got to be fun. So there are lots of ideas for little games. I'm sure you've got them at home. You can play letter snap. You can put the letters together to build words, but only the letters that your child has been taught. Don't go racing ahead to letters they don't know yet. That's quite challenging. But when it's those letters, you can put them on little letter on die like that, and throw the die on the floor and then get them to recognise it. You can draw chalk, or you could draw on the beach, in the sand. You could draw some little words that you know have been sent home and your child could read, and you could do it like that. So keeping it active, keeping it fun is obviously important. And use what you have. So obviously we're in Barbados, so I keep referring to the beach and the sand because it's a lovely resource, and you can draw beautifully in sand. So why wouldn't you use that? You could form the letters, as I say, you can you can reinforce the letter formation in the sand, and you can do it large. You know, you can form those letters in a large sense, which is quite useful for little children because it's quite hard to pick up a pencil and make a small mark. So actually doing it in a big way first is really, even if they are writing, it's still fun to do big letters on the beach, and it's no harm. So, you know, playing I Spy with my little eye, but not something beginning with F, no, something beginning with the sound. Use the letter sound if you're playing those kind of games. Long car journey, looking out the window. Oh, who can find 3 things beginning with T? Oh, I see a tree, you know, I see a toad or something, turtle. Those kind of games. You're not likely to see a toad. Okay, and work as partners with the teacher, which is, I know you will do because you're here, and seeing that kind of, it's a partnership, and you can be hugely, hugely valuable in working in partnership, and you really will, your child will really come on in leaps and bounds, hugely valuable. Miss Edwards, do you want to say anything else before I go on to will my child have fun, which I think we know the answer to. Do you want to say anything else about sort of games that you recommend parents can play?
Not at this moment.
No. Okay.
Let me think.
No, that's fine. No, there's no, just in case you had a little rhyming game up your sleeve or something. So I hope by now, looking at a few of the materials, you've realised that it's not dry, it's not boring, it's not overly, I mean, it's serious in the sense that it will teach them to read and write, but it's not boring and dry. So will your child have fun? Yes. You can do things like this. You can use sticky tape on the floor to do some letter shapes or to write some words. This is I wonder if this video will work. Let me see if it will. If this video works, this is in a classroom I was in Chile. So the children are speaking Spanish, and the teacher had put the letters on the floor. They are capitals. We would have preferred them to be lowercase. But the children are standing, and the teacher is going to say one of the letters. She'll say S, T, A, or O. And when the child hears their letter, they jump over it. And one of the children makes a mistake. Let's see if it will work. Oh, there's no volume. Oh, there. So it's quite funny because one jumps over and then they all say, no, that's not right. And then she says it again and the correct one jumps over. So you can do things like that at home, right? You can play those games.
Games, fun games, but like counting and reading, but it's more story. I can show you.
Yeah, sure.
It's I don't know if it's the same as yours. Can you find the? Is it on this? Turn off your. I'll show you in a minute.
Okay.
But the game he has, I try to go and download like educated stuff.
Yeah.
Story time where they're reading it, but you can still also see the words.
Yes.
So you have like that on the phone.
Yes.
The ways like we do it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there are lots of programs online, but not many of them will be synthetic phonics. It would be a different approach. So trying to be in line with what the teacher is asking you to do, and maybe the teacher will be able to identify some games online that are in the same methodology, because we don't want to be confusing them with different approaches. But again, they're still valuable to do, but it might not help with the phonics. So you would need to Google things like phonic apps, synthetic phonic apps, and that might come up then with the right kind of, so you know you're doing the same approach as in the classroom. We're nearly there. These are some other games. You might be able to do something. Sometimes you can get, we call them manipulative, so letters that you can hold and manipulate to identify the sound or to put them together to make words. And if you can't, then you could just write them on a piece of paper and cut them out. Oh, I'll look at that in a moment. Yeah, thank you. I will. I think we're nearly done, actually. Yes, we are, because we'd already looked at lots of the books. So you know, there are all the things that you probably know and love already are still really valuable. It's just working in partnership with the teacher to make sure that you're doing the same approach, because it is slightly different from perhaps what you might be expecting. But any more questions? And then I'd love to have a look at that. Yeah, that would be, yeah.
I communicate very well with the teachers. I have from the principal to
yeah, fantastic. You didn't need to come. I'm glad you did, though. Any more questions? Have I covered the sort of basics? Yeah?
I'm just excited for my boys to learn to read.
Yes.
Because as he said, we have a twin. One, well, he's an early reader.
Yeah.
And then the other one, he just does not.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
He just could not be bothered.
Yeah.
I think that this would be great for him.
Yeah.
Because it's more fun.
Mm.
Just like he said, when you went through, it made me flash back to like, how did we really learn to read?
Yeah.
And when you took up the book with Sam, I instantly remembered those Ladybird books.
Oh, I remember the Ladybird books. Yeah.
But as far as learning to read past that book,
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know how I was.
Yeah.
And I think me too, it was so serious back in our time that I think I have to know and learn that and teach them in the fun way.
Yeah.
Because as you say, when they bring home.
No.
Very strict. I can come in and knock on white boards.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Seeing darkness.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of force them now, like, when we do the site, we spell it. Like with the spelling words, we spell it, and then I pretty much do a test.
Yeah.
So they write it the same way.
Yeah.
Say house, H-O-U-S-E, house.
Yeah.
Then we do it, write it.
Yeah.
But as I say, one, he catches on very quickly.
Yes.
But the other one.
Yeah. And it's easier for you if you're doing the same approach with them both.
Well,
Because there's,
for sure.
because then there's consistency, and they can actually start to help each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully. Oh.
Can I interject a little bit here? You notice the word house has O's. It has 3 sounds. And to help them, because sometimes, like, if you give them a better understanding of how the word is broken down by sounds, it helps them to remember it better.
Yeah.
That has also a silent E at the end. Right? You can't hear the sound, but it's there. And that O is an OU combination. So you can teach them that, you know, if I do this to you, you say what? Ow. Right? And how do we represent that, guys? We write OU. It can be represented as OU. Ow. There are other ways of saying ow as well, as W as well.
Yeah.
But for this word house, you let them know there's the ow, and there's this, and then there's a sunny at the end. And then you cut it up in card. You can cut the where the word on card. Cut each letter,
Cut up the phonics.
Yes. Cut the OU, the ow, this, and separate them and say to you, break it down for me again. Ows. But let's put it in the correct order based on what you hear, and they can put the ow, the OU, because you have that as one card, this, and then what's missing at the end? Oh, mommy, silent E, the E that has no sound, the U.
Yeah.
And then you mix it up again, and then you scramble. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
That's one thing they never I guess as they get older, you go learn stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
the combination of
The combinations, yes.
the IGH.
Yes.
The combination of those
Yes.
words
Yeah.
are fantastic to have for people to learn. So
Yeah.
children, they relate to learn off of fun and the world too dynamic and colorful.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Children are not going to learn at the speed that you want to because the world is fast.
Yeah.
You got to do it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, it's been fantastic meeting you. And I'll have a look at that. Are you interested to see this too, this program?
I just wanted your advice.
Okay. Well, should we do that at the end? Yeah. I'll have a little look at that in a moment. Yeah. But thank you very much for coming. It's been. I want to meet you again in 5 years' time and hear that you've got brilliant readers, or even maybe in 2 years' time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
you have another one of these workshops. As I told you, we got it today.
yes.
So it wasn't much time for the parents to really prepare to come out.
Yeah.
I tried to send it out to a few of my friends.
Ah, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
but again,
It's a bit late. It's a bit late notice. Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
I'm sure you want to do more, don't you? Yeah.
We do plan to do more.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm always happy to come to Barbados. Yeah. It's my second home. Yeah. Lovely. Well, thank you, and have a lovely evening. And I wish you well. I mean, have a look at some of these if you. I think you've probably. For some reason, I picked up the ones that are at the end of each level, which give like a summary. That's just strange that I happen to pick those up. And these are the kind of resources that the teacher will be using. You might want to have just a quick look at those. And you can see, so that's the kind of resource that.
That's for you.
So that's what the teacher is using to teach.
They see that, and you see all of that.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
And English is one of the toughest languages to learn.
It is. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Even if you are, it's super tough. Yeah.
So the 3 words sound the same, but a lot of different meanings. But
Yes.
Context is important. Too.
Yes.
You can be right, but you can be not right at the same time.
Yeah.
You can be right, but on the left.
Okay, so I want to thank Joe. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you, Joe, for such an engaging and interactive session.
You're
I know
welcome.
based
It's my
on the
pleasure.
Feedback that the parents, that you enjoyed it, that you learned some new things. That's what it's all about. I really love some of the words I heard on learning, relearning. So
Yeah.
you'll be learning along with your children as well. So that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
you are willing to be open and flexible and try something new. And I know that it will be to the benefit of your children. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being willing to trade. Thank you, Jill, for such a
My
wonderful
pleasure.
presentation.
My pleasure.
And as I said, you can look out for more because we really do want to support the parents in this process. Well, you're a very important stakeholder. So once again, on behalf of the ministry, thank you and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.